Hello everyone, this is Parth from FTC Team 7477, and today we're going to talk about basic data types in Java and how to use them. So in Java, data types are integers or strings or decimals or whatever you're using. There's a specific way to specify the type of data that you're using, and today we're going to talk about how, as there's many data processing going on in the Java programming language. So let's start with numbers. So I can either have a whole number or an integer, or I can have a decimal. So let's start with data types for whole numbers. And what we want to use is something called an integer. So the key word for this in Java is int, and after that we have a variable name. So let's just call this first integer. This is what it will look like. And we want to assign a random integer. We use the equals to assign a value, and our value will be here. So basically it looks something like this. We'll have our data type followed by the variable name equals the variable value. That's how assigning statements look in Java. Now let's talk about what happens when I get an integer that's too big. And if you know binary, I will reference that and say that integers can hold 32-bit numbers. And sometimes there'll be situations where you need to use more than 32 bits to store a number. It'll be such a large number that it can't be stored within 32 bits. And in that case, we use a long. Let's call it big integer so you'll remember. And this is a much larger integer. And what it is it can store 64 bits. It is up to a 64-bit storage for an integer. Right, so that's numbers. Let's move on to if you have a decimal. Now there's two types of decimals also. We're going to start with the first one called a float. When you have a decimal, say 3.5, you're going to use a float variable to initialize it. And let's call it first decimal. Again, using the same assignment, 3.5. And after this, you want to use an F and a semicolon. Then this is also has a limit of 32-bit decimal. And this translates to around 6 to 7 total digits in the whole number. And there'll be instances where you want to program with more accuracy than 6 to 7 decimal digits. And for that, you can use what's called the double. And this is often really what you see when using decimals in programming in Java. It's more often double than float, right? But this is a double value. And there doesn't need to be any letter at the end, but it can just be a decimal, whatever I want, right? And this one can be 15 decimal digits. And that's decimal digits. So that's pretty good storage that you have right there. And this is 67 total digits. Okay, so now we have our basics of numerical data. Let's talk about text data a bit. So my absolute basic data in text is my character. And that's denoted by a char and my character name, my variable name. So first character. And a character is a single instance of data, say a singular letter. That's denoted by single quotations in my character. Let's say H or A or B or whatever it is. It's a singular character. And these are often used for ASCII charts and converting ASCII values, and we'll reference that later in the tutorial series. And this is the most basic value. However, the most commonly used one are strings. So strings are text data. So I can store whatever text I want in here. So it's a string, which is the type of variable, followed by the name of the string, equals double quotation marks and my string. Hello world. Now this is most of the main data types in Java, but I also wanted to address two more that don't really have much of a use anymore. They're called the byte variables and the short variable. And these are both integer taken integers, but their storage is much less than the int or the long. The byte is only an 8-bit integer, and bytes are only 8 bits. The short is larger than that, but we will go over this. So it's the same reference, so it's the same assignment. Short first, short equals 5. However, the most important thing to note is that these, for bytes, you can only go to from negative 128 to 127. And for shorts, you can go a bit larger. You can go from negative 32,768, so 32,768, to positive 32,767. That's your range of storage for these two data types. So because of that, especially byte, it's not really recommended that you use it, and just jump up straight to int and long. But yeah, I just wanted to share this with you. So yeah, that is our data types. And remember, you can print any one of these out. I can just print my integer out by just referencing the type. I can print my character out. I can print my string out. And this should just print the value. So it should really print 5 line, capital H, line, hello world. And that's what we have. So that's it for the simple data types in Java. This should give you a good understanding of all the data you'll be working with. And thank you for watching.